will put my pride down. Put down your attitude. You stop yelling at me, I stop yelling at you. We both said some things, most of it ain't even true.
Hello and welcome to another edition of The Breakdown. This is one of your hosts, Jacob. I also got Mike in here with me. I got Lala in here with me, Sassy. And we're going to talk about something very, very deep tonight. Something, I don't know, a lot of people have issues with. Shout out to everybody in the midst of this storm. We got some tornadoes coming through the South right now, and that's where I'm at. I'm in the midst of it in Alabama. So we praying for everybody to come out on the other side, everything be great. They say we got a couple of days of bad weather headed our way, and this rain right now is something serious. So I'm praying for everybody under the sound of our voice, if you're listening to us. Whenever you hear this show, that all is well. But tonight, I just wanted to shout out everybody that has liked our like page, who have joined our group since hearing the shows. I see that our like page numbers are going up. So shout out to you if you followed us, if you liked us, if you sent a request to join the group and you're now in the group. Shout out to you. We appreciate you. We love your input, especially on the like page. Y'all be going in on the like page. So we appreciate it so much on behalf of everybody on TDR, as well as those that are in running or over the breakdown. Thank you for being a part of our show. Tonight, we talking about love. And love doesn't hurt. Last week we was talking, and we were going in talking about different things that happened with Nipsey Hussle. I'm sorry, I keep saying Nipsey Hussle. But Nipsey Hussle and that situation and everything that's been going on with that. Even like today, while we recording this, earlier today, I seen some stuff that was going on as far as Wendy Williams and her husband. Craziness. And yeah, I'll be posting stuff on the like page and the group. So if you want to know about what happened with that, go check it out. It's crazy. It's just crazy stuff. But I wanted to get in on this love doesn't hurt, because to me, and this is just a personal thing, but I really feel like love should not hurt, and it doesn't. But I've known there are those who have been in relationships that have been either abusive physically or abusive verbally. And they would say, but he loves me. She loves me. This is my fault. But there is so much pain because of the mental state or physical state that has been brought upon them. And yeah, I figured we need to revisit this. We had did a show way back when. We never did one on the air on TDR as the breakdown, but we have done it as Sex Battles. You can probably look up YouTube and pull that up on YouTube. We have done this type of show before. So tonight, that's what I want to touch on as far as love. I know Mike is here right now. We got Lala and Sassy. They doing some stuff, but they'll be in and out. So, Mike, so you tell me what you feel like love means. What is your definition of it? That's if he was there. I figured he was there, but I don't hear him.
I'm here.
I'm sorry, I'm here. I didn't hear the question again. I'm sorry. What did you say?
So, give me your definition of love. What is love?
It can be a variety of anything. I mean, it can go from your love for like your kids, unconditional love, for family, um, for family.
I mean, as far as I know about that.
But what love
God,
means
they
to me,
love
it's unconditional. Like you can, some people it's like you can't live without the person.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's almost the same. You can't live without the person that your heart skips a beat. Somebody that completes your sentence before you even finish it. Somebody that completes you, basically.
Make you whole.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Lala, you say you here. What do you agree?
Yes, I am
what
here.
What does love mean to you?
I didn't expect you to ask that.
Uh-oh. She could have going deep. Hey, y'all get your notepads out, pens.
No. I usually am like the deep one, and I have to apologize because I'm driving right now, and I am like literally 2 minutes away from my destination. So forgive me for the loud noise in the background, but when you said that, right, I was over here like, what would I say? Like, how would I answer that question? And I couldn't really come up with anything because
I mean, like Mike brought up.
Let me say
love
this.
for
What
family
does
members.
Okay, so when you say what does love mean to me, are you saying what makes me feel like I'm loved? Like what makes me feel like my significant other loves me?
Go there. Yeah.
So, I mean, I would have to say definitely, in order for my significant other to show me that they love me, I would say they would have to be, patient. They would have to be willing to communicate. For me, communication is like key for me because I don't have any issues effectively communicating. Getting my feelings, how I feel, or being able to talk through it, regardless to, like how much it may hurt. I'm willing to go through, whatever, communication we need to get where we need to be. So I would say, someone who is willing to communicate, someone who is, like willing to let me in, not just, be concerned about how I'm feeling, but somebody who's willing to share their feelings. And, somebody who, checks on you when, I feel like, when you love somebody or even like them, you check on them throughout the day or however. You send that good morning text. You make time. You respect that person. Somebody who, like, respects me, somebody who is willing to communicate, somebody who like I think about throughout the day.
So communication is a big thing as far as love goes. That's what I'm feeling.
For me,
and I've been
like,
saying that. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I feel like, and it's funny because me and my girlfriends, my closest girlfriends, we were talking about like our superpowers, right? We were just joking around, and I said that I feel like I have two. The one I won't discuss, but the other one.
That's what
the other one is that's not for any show at all. But the other one, like my main one, is I would say my superpower is being able to effectively communicate. So communication for me is very huge, very, very. I mean, it's heavily important for me.
Okay.
Not a lot of people are that way, because maybe they didn't grow up in a situation where they were able to communicate, or communication was big in the home. And I can honestly say that it wasn't in mine. It's something that I learned along the way.
Did that make it more, not feasible, but more important to you because it wasn't there? Like now?
No, because I've never felt like misunderstood, as a child or a young adult or anything like that. I never really felt like, oh, my mom just doesn't get me. I mean, of course, when I was 16, me and my mom, we had a little clash, but that's because I was raised in the church, very strict. And, of course, I came to a point where I was ready to, not live like that. I wanted to not necessarily be like my friends and stuff, but I needed just a little bit of freedom. So there was a period where, like, I pulled away from my mom, and I did move out when I was 16, close to my 17th birthday. Um, but it wasn't because I felt like, I patient issues then because I felt like she was looking at me still as her little baby girl and she couldn't
Hmm.
see my cry for help that, I was struggling. But other than that, no, I don't feel like, communication wasn't, in my home and it was a negative impact on me. No. Um nope. I think what happened was um my first so at 17, um I became someone's fiance, and I was in a 7-year relationship. And that person
Whoa.
was someone who um, was a communicator, um, but only when it came to certain things. So
Okay.
my need for him to be able to communicate with me about other things is what could
Hmm.
have sustained our relationship. And so I think that's where my like understanding of we can talk about anything. You know what I mean? Like we can like let's just sit down and talk about it. Talking about it makes everything better. We can come
Hmm.
up with some strategies together. I feel like if we can talk about it, we can really like understand each other. And I feel like a lot of issues like in this world today and with families and everything, if people could sit down and talk and
It would be
listen
better. Yeah.
and not get upset and take the emotion out of it, because a lot of times when we have conversations and it's a tough conversation to have, we jump on the defensive because we don't want to be attacked instead of
Hmm.
validating what the other person is saying, and then being able to get our point across. So I think that's where my like, having that need to be able to communicate came from, is me feeling like it would have saved my relationship.
I agree.
And
I
that's
agree
something that's like really
110%.
important,
Like
really important to
that's like one of the big things for me is communication.
me.
'Cause I hate to get into statistics, but if you look at the divorce rate and talk to people that have been divorced, that's the number one thing you're gonna hear. Well, we didn't communicate, or he didn't tell me this, or we didn't have a good um we didn't have good conversation. A lot of stuff is hidden when it shouldn't have been hidden, or whatever the case is. And that's why a lot of times I bring up personally on a lot of our shows, communication is key. It's a big thing. And another reason I say that is because I've been in relationships where the communication wasn't there. It didn't work out. And two, talk to women. Like in the midst of me doing shows for how many years I've been doing shows, the number one thing that comes across, especially from women, because guys sometimes we don't really think about it. It's that big. It's not that big to us. It ain't that serious. It's a communication thing. Um, I hear a lot of women say, "If I only knew, if he only would have
And
said something."
and it's not just like communication. It's like being able to effectively communicate.
Yeah,
Effectively
yeah.
communicating, you are able to, get your point across. You're not frustrated because you can't get what it is that you're trying to say out.
Mhm.
You're listening. You are listening with the intent to hear, not, um, you know, you're hearing what the other person is saying, but in your mind, you're thinking of your next rebuttal. You're
Yeah.
thinking of, you're
Yeah.
immediately offended and you're like thinking of what you're going to say and you're cutting that person, off. That's where arguments, happen. Like, I know someone that's like, oh, I can communicate fine. I say how I feel all the time. Like, being able to effectively communicate is not just you being able to say, I'm upset about this, or, yelling and fussing. Like, that's not effectively communicating, like, at all. I think
Yeah, that's true.
we do a better job, and I'm not saying this because,
You a woman?
I'm like, I'm not.
No, I'm just playing. Go ahead.
I'm not saying I'm not I'm not saying it because of that. Yeah, like, I'm definitely not um you know pro woman, feminist. Like, that's not me. But I will say that I do believe that women do mature a little faster
Mm.
than
Mm-hmm.
men, but I think that is just by nature.
I
Just
agree.
because we have children, and our instincts kick in a lot faster than
Mm-hmm.
men do. So I won't, no shot to the men,
I mean,
but
there are some men that do grow up fast, but majority of the time, I have to agree with you. Majority of
yeah.
the
But
time,
like I said, I think
we.
it's just I think it's a natural thing for us. Just like how they say, if you had to grow up fast,
Mm-hmm.
you have some households where there's not a father, and their first child is a son, and that son, grows up fast because now he has to be the protector of his family, and he has to, help his mom, and he has to do this. He may have very well matured, sooner than what he normally would have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's something like that, you know what I mean, when it comes to women. Like, we're natural nurturers. Like, that instinct for us, kicks right in. So I think because we have the responsibility of, rearing children, and that, I think that's where our motherly instinct, is what helps us to
That is key.
mature,
Yeah,
a lot faster.
I have
Yeah.
to agree with that. That is key. I agree, especially when women become mothers and like I don't know, society today.
With the emotional
It's
piece.
it's a lot of young ladies that are becoming mothers at a very early age, and so they're pushed into having to mature because 9 times out of 10, and I'm not saying all, but a lot of young guys don't see that. Like
Right.
having a child is that serious, or they have to jump and do what they have to do. Shoot, just look at TV. You see it on Maury all day. You see it on Maury Povich, uh, like 24/7. That's what's on TV. Um, I don't watch Jerry anymore because Jerry be going through some things, but they say that's what goes on Jerry Springer. And he's fighting about all this kind of stuff because a lot of women feel like the guys don't mature to the level they need to when certain situations hit or they have a baby or whatever the case may be. And
Mhm.
I do have to agree that in my personal experience, I won't say all men, but a lot of guys have that issue. Um, I know me personally, I didn't have a child until I was older in age. And so for me that wasn't a problem with me. Like I know another show we're gonna talk about the church aspect and all that kind of stuff, but um me being raised in a Christian home, upbringing, especially PAW, if anybody listening or knows about the PAW, I was a part of the PAW for a number of years growing up. There was a lot of stuff that we couldn't do. And I know it's a lot of people that could tell you that because there was certain things. I would go to school and my schoolmates or whatever you want to call people I went to school with will be talking about TV shows and the movies and different songs on the radio,
Right.
which we had
And you're like,
radios and stuff,
lost.
but then I'd be like, what? Who
Mhm.
did what?
Yeah.
Wait. Who is the Incredible Hulk? What is that about? I didn't know because that was not allowed at the time. There was no going to the movies or you know that was just unheard of in the PAW back in the day. And so, and that's for those that don't know, it's Pentecostals across the world. But yeah, that was unheard of. It was crazy. And so I would go to school and they would be talking about stuff and I'd be like, what are y'all talking about? What is that about? And me and at the time my best friend, we joke about it now because he was in it before I was. My parents, we was in it, but we weren't fully in it until we got to Alabama the way that we did. There was a lot of stuff and they let go of it a lot quicker than I did living in the household, my parents. But yeah, I would go to his house and be like, yeah, let's watch TV. And he'd be tripping like, dude, it ain't even that serious. Ain't even nothing on. Man, I just want to look at TV. I don't care what's on. But yeah, it's a different aspect. To me, love is you brought up the nurturing part of it. A lot of women feel that they are nurturers, which is supposed to be, and taking care of the children. But at the same time, that man that has did what he was, helped create this child should be there to do their part. And there are times, and I can't speak to say that all men should be this way, because even in my own situation, I pretty much was taken out the equation for years and years, just because of certain things. And I had to talk about that on another show. But yeah, that part, as far as love hurting and not supposed to be hurting or doesn't hurt, it hurt. And I was in love, but at the same time, both parties have to be there and feel the same way and feel like they love each other. You can't just have one party loving and the other one don't. And then you end up in a real bad situation because that one person, and I've seen it myself, that's why I can speak on it, that it seems like they don't care. It's not that serious. It's not what's going on, whatever the case may be. But yeah, it's a big thing. I have to speak up usually because I see, let's just say, women being abused in a certain way. There is a video, I saw it on Facebook. I don't know if it's on Instagram or anything. There's an elderly couple that were on a bus. And this man was talking crazy to this older lady. And all of a sudden, what you see is the people on the bus start sticking up for her and telling him he can't treat her that way. You can't talk to her like that. You can't be like that. And she looked like she was very fearful of what was going on. And next thing you know, them men on that bus, they took care of dude. He's like, bruh, I'm trying to tell you, we ain't gonna let you do that. Not on here. That's not what's going on. A lot of times you don't see that. You don't see that at all, because a lot of people feel like that's not my place. That has nothing to do with me. I ain't getting in it. I personally feel like, and I've done it a few times because working the club, and Mike can tell you, we see a lot of stuff in the club scene, craziness, straight clubs as well as because we worked in the gay clubs and all that kind of stuff. You see a whole lot of stuff as far as that going on, as far as abuse going on, and for some odd reason, it's not. For some odd reason, they feel like That's what it is. I've had women tell me when I step in between the situation or say something about the situation, but he loves me. I did this. This is my fault because I said blah blah blah, or it's my fault. I shouldn't have did this. I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have said that blah 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 was going on and this and that. I should just kept my mouth shut. Nah, man, that's crazy. That's that's insane. And I try to get people to understand that the purpose. And I'm going back to my even love serenade days. There are those that have been with us since then, where we would just call into a conference and have conversations. The reason being that we came into being was there was a lot of conference rooms that I would go into back in the day when conferences was popular and jumping. Everybody would be in there, my late teen days, and they would be in there disrespecting the women. You would hear somebody in there talking, like it'll be a bunch of guys in there just chilling, whatever. A woman would come in, and out of nowhere, you would hear a guy go, "Hey, who is that big?" Call her all out her name. "Hey, how big is your breast? Do you got a big head?" Like, what? What is that about? What? Are you serious? And that would be the whole focus of the conversation. And so what I did, and this is where we came into fruition, was I started my own conference. And those that know about Love Serenade, shout out to you. It was just a conference call. We were just conferences. We were just talking about different things. One thing led to another. We started having deep conversations in these conference rooms. We would talk about relationships. We would talk about why people do certain things that they do. We would talk about all kind of stuff. At the same time, I purposely got a conference room where I could lock it. I could boot people out. I could mute people if I needed to. Whatever the case may be, I can control the conference room. And so me doing that and passing the conference number out to certain people got me a real bad name as far as guys go, because they felt like I was in the conference room trying to holler at all the women. He just don't want us in there because he's talking to the women. It wasn't that. Because there was a lot of guys that were in the conference room. It was just certain people that were disrespectful. The women didn't feel comfortable with them. And they would come to me and say, "Hey, such and such, he don't need to be in there." And so the next time we did a conference, he wouldn't be there. And so they took it as me trying to control everything and get all the women and just craziness. The other Lala and Chris was around back then when we used to do those conferences. And they're in our group. They're on our like page. Every once in a while, he'll pop up. We talking or whatever. I'm gonna try to get them on our live show. But yeah, they've been around for a while. We've been knowing each other for years, and I just didn't. I couldn't have it. There are some relationships that came out of us doing that, and even a marriage that came out of the shows. But me personally, it was just a thing of me protecting the women that came into our conference room. I would rather have a bad name with the guys than the ladies that came in, because I felt like it was a safe haven. That was the reason why I started doing the conferences in the first place. And so here we are today. And as you can see, those that listen and hear our shows, we're on a totally different platform. We're doing a lot of different things that people appreciate, and I'm glad that our listeners enjoy the shows that we do. And so getting back to the topic as far as love hurting, um,
Mhm.
Lala, why do you think that it is so, let's say, so here right now? Like it, every time you turn around, you hear of abuse or physical abuse, emotional abuse, whatever the case may be. Why do you think that is, in your personal opinion?
Well, I think that's a whole nother show.
But it's a part
Just
of it, though.
I mean,
But
I mean,
yeah.
I get what you're. No, I mean, I get what you're saying because women that are in abusive situations say that they stay because they love that person and they believe that that person loves them.
Mhm.
However, in my opinion, speaking from experience,
Mhm.
um, uh, both people are broken. Both people are lacking something. I know the fellas was jumping on me the one show
Oh.
um about insecurities, you know.
Mhm.
Um and that's really what I think it is. I really feel like if we took the time to deal with our issues, be honest with ourselves, be accountable for, some of the things that we've gone through,
Mhm.
and really figure out where we missed some of those red flags or, where we went wrong. I really feel like we could heal ourselves and not make those same mistakes. But a lot of
Yeah.
times, we don't know how to be accountable.
Mhm.
Um, and we we have some type of insecurity, whether it be, how we look or, maybe it could just be that we weren't loved properly as a child or, we have something from our childhood that we're holding on to and, maybe it, you know, makes a man feel like he's in control. A lot of times when a man hits on a woman, it's because he's lacking something himself,
Yeah.
and he doesn't you know um have control of himself or whatever, and he's just being a bully. That's what bullies do. When you think about kids, it's something. There's a reason that bullies are bullies. They're either being bullied themselves by their parents or siblings at home, or they're mistreated and they look at someone in jealousy, and instead of giving that person praise or giving them a compliment or whatever, or trying to find out how they can you know be like that person or whatever the case may be, they um try to tear that person down. So I really feel like if you're in an abusive relationship, you that person doesn't love you.
Mhm.
um I don't know. For me, I just say it's a whole nother topic because it's just so many different issues, with that. But as far as the does love hurt or should or love doesn't hurt, I think
Mhm.
love does hurt at times. Obviously, if you love somebody and they don't love you back, that can hurt.
That hurt. Yeah.
Or that does hurt. If you, but at the same time, I do think that some amount of hurt is helpful in a relationship, because if you have a relationship that has never been tested and it's never been tried, you actually don't know how strong that relationship is. So I would say, you have there's I don't really want to say healthy hurt because sometimes it comes from like a tragic loss. You have a
Mhm.
couple that's been together 7 years and they've had 5 miscarriages, and so they're hurt. They're not necessarily hurting each other, but in turn that could cause them to now have some type of divide, and there be some hurt there. And I feel like if you can get over that hurt as a couple, your
Mhm.
relationship is that much stronger for it. So I do think there is a healthy amount of hurt in there. But I mean, when it comes to like, you love somebody and they don't love you back, then that's a whole different type of hurt.
I didn't even
And
think about that. You're right about that.
love shouldn't hurt.
It shouldn't
Yeah,
hurt,
so
but it
it
does
shouldn't hurt.
sometimes. It just,
Right.
I
If
don't know.
someone loves you, I should say, if someone loves you, I mean, love does hurt sometimes. Yes, like I said, there are situations, and sometimes those things are needed. It's a healthy amount of hurt. But, should somebody that love you, should they hurt you, whether it be physically or, you know, um, emotional abuse or anything like that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Just think about how you love your kids. You
Mhm.
you 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 would die for yours. You you don't want nobody
Mhm.
doing anything to hurt your child. It would break your heart to know that someone at school hurt your child's feelings or whatever the case may be. So that's how I
That's how
look
you
at
got
it.
to
Like,
look
don't
at it.
do to me what you don't want somebody to do to your daughter.
I
Kind of
agree.
thing. So yeah.
I agree 110%. Mike, you agree with what's going on?
Yes, I do. Is also because as far as hold on, when you were saying, I'm sorry about that, my earpiece dropped out.
Are you
When
good?
you said that how you heard somebody being talked to the older lady on the bus by the young man, that
Mhm.
is true. Because I always feel this way. Don't say nothing to nobody that you wouldn't want to say to your mother.
Yeah.
If you don't
Yeah.
want nobody to disrespect your mother, then why would you disrespect the, older lady? Now there is some instances where it is necessary because they, you know, but it's never no time or space, even if they got nasty with you.
Mhm.
Don't call them out their name. As far as we all know the B word and stuff like that. Or some women don't even like the C word, and I'm not even going to say that one. But it's just how you talk to them, think about their feelings, their emotions, or his as well. So that's the way I look at it. Also,
I think it's got to do a lot with upbringing because to me, I don't know, maybe it's just me personally. Y'all can speak on it. Um, those that come up, let's say that are older now, um, 30, 40 plus, look at stuff completely different because of how we was raised and how we was brought up, and um, even late 20s. You was brought up to respect your parents. You respected your elders. Um, Nowadays, and I've seen it myself, that kids get in trouble for talking back to teachers or whatever at school, and their parents go to the school and snap out. And it's usually mama, and she's young. She's a young mother, and so she flips out on the teacher or whoever it is or whatever. And these kids nowadays, I haven't done it in a while, but I used to work here at a skating rink down here, and I would go on the weekend, and it would be packed with kids, and I would just watch the kids interact with each other, let alone the adults that was supervising or that was running the place. And me being in the security capacity, sometimes I had to step in because these kids would be cussing each other out and just talking to each other crazy like it was nothing, like it's the norm. And they able to do that, and I was like, wow, that is. I know back in the day, I would be running and hiding. Adult heard me say a word, heard me to say but or something crazy, but these kids nowadays they just talk any kind of way. So to me, it's got a lot to do with that authority figure or whoever that is over them. Because 9 times out of 10, if they do it, the kids gonna be doing it too. I've seen that a lot, and I'm sure you have, Flo. I'm sure you've seen it. Even working in security capacity at the malls or whatever the case may be. I've seen it, and I was like, wow, uh, I don't know. Like, I would be afraid when I was younger, and I don't know about y'all, but for word to get back to my parents that I was cutting up, or to make my parents look
Yep.
bad. Because my mom
Yep.
would
That's
drop us
exactly
off
what I
and tell
did.
us, you better not do nothing. Because if word get back to me, and this was back in the day when both mama and daddy, it was even worse when dad came home and you had to get it for real. But mom would have you up against the wall like that. That was back then. Now it's like the parents will come and chew you out as the authority figure because you said something to their child. And there are some that don't do that, but it's a lot of them that do. I'll be like, wow. Even working, like I said, security capacity at the skating rink here, uh, even like at the malls, I've worked security and seen this with my own eyes. Like a lot of parents go to places and they drop their kids off and they leave. Understandable, because they need a few hours. Get my mind together without the kids, whatever the case may be. But then those kids go out there and they make the parents look bad because, like they say back in the day, it's the home training. They ain't got none. They don't know how to act right. Um,
But you
but
know what?
mhm,
You can have parents that don't even cuss in front of their children or
and they
not cuss
still,
at
yeah,
all.
yeah,
And I
that's
mean, it
true.
definitely does begin at home. So I'm not knocking that. It definitely does begin at home. However, you can have good parents, right,
Mhm,
who on paper are good. They go to church. They keep their children in church. They work. They have good jobs. They take family vacations. They, do all of those things, right?
mhm,
They raise their kids to be, you know, good people, whatever. However, if those children are not getting what they need, like enough attention or whatever the case may be, and then they go outside and they hang with little Johnny, and little
yeah,
Johnny is a hellion.
yeah,
Now they want to be like little Johnny, or that's who ends up influencing them.
mhm,
And sometimes it becomes a thing where they want to impress their peers. And
yeah.
people always get like upset with me when I say this, but it's it's because of insecurities. Like
It's
it's
true.
something that they're lacking that makes them want to be the class clown.
Mhm,
They're looking for any attention they can get, not realizing that not all attention is good attention.
mhm,
And, sometimes like kids get out of control because that's what they see everybody else doing. And it's so like widely acceptable. So they're gonna do it, you know. And sometimes it's not, always just the parents or whatever. I mean, they could be, like I said, on paper, good parents, but, while you're both working 2 and 3 jobs and, whatever, your child is needing that one-on-one, time with their parents because now they're seeking that attention, elsewhere. And I feel
mhm,
like that's a lot of kids today. A lot of our troubled youth, um, even my nephew, my niece's son, he's a good kid, but he thrives. He like thrives off of the attention that he gets when he cuts up in class.
mhm,
And my niece is a good mom. Her house is clean. I mean, spotless. She's a neat freak. She
mhm,
cooks dinner every day. They sit down at the dinner table as a family. They eat. She, um, whatever. But he's 9, and she has where he was the baby for a while. She has a 4-year-old, and so I feel like he and her father lives there in the home. You know, his dad
okay,
doesn't. So I think that he battles with, where while she's an excellent mom, she's an excellent parent. Of course, we can all do better. there are no perfect parents. So I'm not trying to make her be like a perfect parent, but I'm just saying when you think about like, oh, kids that cut up is like probably they probably don't eat at home. Their house is probably dirty. The mom is probably trifling. Is men in and out of the house, and like none of that is the case with him. However, his dad is not living in the home. There's a male figure there, but I feel like he's maybe a little jealous of his sister because her dad is there and she's the baby. So, maybe he feels like he got lost in the shuffle. And without him being able to effectively communicate that to his mom, she really doesn't know. Like, she's trying to reach him and she feels like, she keeps failing at that. But he goes to school and he cuts up. The kids laugh. And that's what fuels him. He's getting that attention. So I was just saying that, it doesn't always start at home, but they're definitely getting it from somewhere. And I think a lot of it is what they're exposed to and what's so widely accepted. This is why I want to homeschool my daughter.
Now I have a question, Lala, about that young boy. Okay. Is the father in his life? Does he come around?
He is somewhat. I mean, he is starting to get a little better than what it used to be. Because
so in other words, and I hate to say this, so in other words, at first he wasn't at all. And just from hearing you, it may be in your opinion, but what would you say? Because you saying now he's coming.
At first, his dad was there because they were in a relationship. They were living together when he was first born, probably until he was about 4 years old. I want to say is when they separated because I think he just turned 10. But yes, I'm gonna say that they were together until he was about 4. And then, so his dad was there every day, all the time. And then I think his dad was, being a little immature. He wasn't over the relationship. He cheated on mom, and that's why they separated. And so he was upset that she wouldn't take him back. So for a while, he would just, he would always go over to grandmom's house and stuff, and he would see his dad when he was over there. But it wasn't like his dad really like getting him, spending one-on-one time with him, things like that. Probably,
he was actually probably missing that him and dad time, that quality time. So He probably did act out because of that.
And he told the counselors that. I mean, she's gotten him counseling and everything because where she lives and I'm actually going up to the school with her next week to talk to the principal because now I feel like they've made him a target because he has had some emotional issues. They, in the school district that he's in, is predominantly white, and I feel like they always try to make an issue out of, his behavior, and sometimes it could be the smallest thing. I mean, they have diagnosed him because of going to school. They told her to take him to a counselor and whatever. They've diagnosed him with ADHD and, all this other stuff and whatever. But I really think that he's just a boy being a boy and that they single him out. And I think that they escalate the situation instead of trying to de-escalate it.
Yes,
so I feel like they add fuel to the fire and they get the reaction out of him that they want sometimes. So I told her I'm going to come up there with her so we can talk about it. But when he talked to the counselor and the counselor, asked him, what makes you the most upset? Like what do you think triggers you and where do you think you start having bad days at? And he said that he misses his dad or he gets upset because his dad says he's going to come get him and he doesn't. Which is a very real problem. I don't know if you were on that call that we had before, but that he's going to turn into, if it's not handled, he's going to turn into a grown man who expects disappointment in his life, and he's going to he's never really going to be able to hold down a good relationship, like that, because he's going to have so many insecurities. But I mean, his dad.
Well,
so
no. Now that I disagree on. That I disagree on. And I mean, and everybody has their own opinion. When you mean is that he won't, the relationship won't be strong and stuff like that. Because I'm not gonna tell you no lie. I can relate to the kid because when I was younger, I was that kid because my father was gone out of my life from the age of 3, and next time I seen my father when I was burying him and I was 33. So I did the same thing. I acted out in school, class. I was a class clown, and I hate to say it, and they are singling out the young man, in my opinion, because paperwork is a mother when it comes from the school, because it follows you wherever you go. Yeah. And I've explained my daughter that, so you can have one bad year, and that could have been that year that he was acting out because his father wasn't there, and then okay, boom, we gonna write this up on him, or he just acting up and he just is uncontrollable. It could have been an outburst because he was emotional about something, about his parent, his father not being there. And then that paperwork going to follow him all through, as he go up through his grades, because it still might be some things that he's dealing with. And even though he has a counselor, somebody that he talks to at school, maybe the mother needs to look into having him talk to somebody outside the school, because sometimes.
No, he does.
Oh, he does?
He does. Yeah, he does. He has the school counselor, and then they made her, they told her if she, and this is where I'm like, they made things worse than they have to be, because they told her that if she didn't take him down to be evaluated by case management and to get him counseling, that he was going to be kicked out of school. And this was all because he had an outburst in the classroom and yelled at the teacher and started crying and walked out the class. Kids have bad days too. So just because he did that, you guys want to now make him out to be
not just the counselor outside of there. I'm talking about like a psychiatrist, somebody that you can sit there, nice, quiet, sit and talk to. Because I went through the same thing. Like I said, I hear myself back in when I was younger, but I talk to the person and I calm down to a certain degree.
Let me ask you this. Now he has all of that. He has a school counselor. He actually just had an appointment today at 4:30. He sees a psychiatrist and he sees someone else, and they're getting ready to get him a wraparound for school while he's at school or whatever. He has all of the support that he needs at this point. His dad has started coming around. He gets him every Saturday. He's supposed to get him Tuesdays and Thursdays, but they stopped doing that because he was getting him to school late the next day. Always having excuses, and it falls back on my niece. So now he gets him on the weekends. He seems to have better weeks because he looks forward to seeing his dad on the weekend and stuff. So, they brought his dad into the counseling session and was like, listen, every problem that he has, it comes back to the fact that, he misses you and, you don't keep your word, therefore he's disappointed in that. But what I was going to ask you is, so you said that your father was not there, you didn't have any communication with your father, or when you say he wasn't there, what was the relationship?
Let's say that my father was abusive, and he used to like to, hit on my mother, do stupid stuff to my mother, and I can talk about it, but she fought back one day, and she has balls or cojones, whatever you want to call her, and I tip my hat to her because I think she threw something on him. I think it was some grease or something, or some hot water or something. Because I remember he had on the nylon shirt and he was screaming that it was burning and he needed to get it off. But he was getting locked up. And I remember seeing him leaving, didn't say bye. I just remember looking out the window at the age of 3, almost fell out the window at the time because I was crying because he was being handcuffed and taken off to jail. Now, during the time I'll give him and I'm being nice and I'm being generous. And when I say generous, I'm talking about generous between 30 years. I might have spoke to him 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
10 times. Then as I got older, and I can never understand this, but it's God for some reason. Because like I'm from New York and I moved to Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
so I would go home and God rest my aunt soul, she passed on Sunday. When I would go home to see her, she'd be like, "I thought that was your dad," because he either just left a couple of days before or the week before I got to New York. So I don't know. It's just we missed each other by maybe a couple of days, a week, or something like that. Because he would be there and then he'd be gone.
Mm.
But being nice, giving him 10 times, and that's on phone calls.
Now, the reason why I asked you that is because what I was saying earlier, and this may not be everybody's situation, right? So I don't know if you were on the call where I in depth spoke about my daughter's father. So I'm not saying that this is everybody, but my daughter's father was disappointed by his father. His parents broke his heart. And this is my analogy of it because his dad was on drugs. He was abusive to his mother. She got tired of it, and she filed a PFA out on him or whatever it was called at that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And had him removed from the house. So, my daughter's father was disappointed in his mom because he felt like she is the reason that his dad left. She's the reason that, his dad left. And as a child, you don't know how to not be selfish. You can't, It's hard for you to say, you know what, even though I'm hurt by this, my mom did what she had to do for herself to save her life, So that was the first disappointment, right? And then the dad, because he wasn't over the relationship, didn't want to have anything to do with the kids. Because she had to set boundaries. Now he's not allowed to come to the house. So she was taking the kids over to his mom's house, dropping them off for him to spend time with them there. Well, his dad would say that he would be there and he wouldn't be. Then when he would call or, they would get in contact, however, he would tell him, he would cry for him and tell him that, he really wanted to see him. And he was like, okay, I'm going to come get you Friday, whatever. It was disappointment after disappointment. And then, I feel like he disappoints himself. That's his coping mechanism. He disappoints himself so that nobody else can disappoint him because he was so disappointed as a child. And
wow, that sounds like my nephew.
It's like, he's like, you know what? And he doesn't realize this, though. He doesn't realize this. When you say this to him, like when I told him that, I was like, listen, I really need you to have a conversation with your parents. And you need to let that little boy have a conversation with his parents and let them know that they disappointed you and they hurt you and you have been holding on to it. And I'm like, you've got to forgive yourself and understand that it wasn't your fault. And, I mean, it was a bad situation, whatever. His dad has tried to reach out to him. And he, like when I had my daughter, his brother called. And he told his brother that he wasn't going to send him any pictures of the baby because he didn't want him showing the dad the pictures. And the brother was like, oh, well, Dad said give him a call. And he's like, no, I'm the one that just had the baby. He should be calling me. He's my dad. He should be calling me. But I told him, I'm like, sometimes you have to be the bigger person. Maybe your dad has all that guilt there. He knows that he did wrong. But you have to understand that he was on drugs at that time. And all of that, and you have to forgive him in order for you to be able to move forward. He swears up and down that is not the case and that he does not use, that he doesn't disappoint himself as a coping mechanism, but I can promise you he does in everything in life, every day. It's to the point where my 4-year-old daughter is so negative, and she is the same way because she gets it from him. And I'm the total opposite. I wake up in the morning, I give myself like a half an hour. I put, I light a candle. I make myself a hot cup of tea. I read. I sit and I think. I pray. I like set the tone for my day. I'm humming in the morning. I'm happy. I'm like, we're gonna have such a good day. Me and my daughter, we pray. We say our daily affirmations. My daughter wakes up crying every morning.
Wow.
She's already expecting to have a bad day every day. And I'm not exaggerating. She wakes up every day and she's like, oh, I don't want to wear that shirt because the kids are going to pick on me. Oh, I don't want to wear those shoes because what if I trip and fall? Oh, I'm just going to have such a bad day. At 4 years old, she's so negative,
Wow.
but it's because she is her father's child and she has been around her dad enough that he's rubbed off on her that much. But she's around me every day now, just me, and you would think that I would have rubbed off on her. And it's like I see it peeking through a little bit, but she's her father's child. She's her father's child. So I can't say that it's everybody. I mean, I'm not saying that every fatherless, young man is going to grow up to be a man who can't, be in a relationship. I mean, some guys figure it out. Some guys are fortunate enough to, either run into a woman that's willing to work with them through those issues, a woman that can recognize what's going on, or, maybe they run into, a brother, a close guy friend that maybe went through it, or, they have a father and they take them in. Everybody's story is different. But being disappointed by your father as a child, it does something to you.
I agree.
It absolutely, even as a woman, my father was in and out of my life. My parents got divorced officially when I was 13 because I told my mom, you don't have to let him come back. I know that he hurt you. And I heard you on the phone with your friend. That's a big no-no because I didn't have no business listening in the first place. But, I'm like, I heard you telling Auntie, that, you let my dad come back because I love him and I'm worried about him and, whatever. And I'm like, you don't have to do that anymore. At 13 years old, I had to tell my mom that. So my parents.
Wow.
Sometimes parents will sacrifice for their children.
Yeah.
But you know what? That wasn't the case.
Love that doesn't hurt, that do hurt.
Yeah, but that wasn't the case. My mom was letting my dad come back because my mom was madly in love with my dad, and my dad couldn't do no wrong. And my mom loved my dad. And in addition to that, we got to go back to the insecure part of her. Not having a good relationship with her mom. My mom didn't really know who her mom was until she was about 13 years old. My mom had been beaten, raped, and abused as a child. She had 3 young boys. Her first love was murdered while she was pregnant with her son. And after that, she ended up being with an abusive man, having 2 more children and, whatever. So I feel like my mom, my mom getting married to my father and making that relationship work was her being okay with life. You know what I mean? It was her redemption for all the things that she had gone through. It was like her piece of happiness that she didn't want, to go away. So I feel like that's why she held on to my dad for so long. She knew she could do better. I mean, my mom was in love with my dad, and she needed that relationship to work so that she didn't feel like a failure in life. And that's what it was. She wanted me to have my dad, yes. But my dad did what he wanted to do. My dad would leave and be gone for weeks at a time. My dad would be gone. We didn't, they would get into an argument or something. My dad would leave. And this was before the divorce. Like, this was probably from the time that I was 5, 6 years old on to the age of 13. My dad, they would get into it, or my dad would get upset about something. and my dad would leave. We wouldn't know where my dad was at. And then, a couple weeks would go by, and I would be like, Mom, I wonder if my dad is okay. Did my dad call? Did my dad come by? And she would be like, no. And I'm like, well, can we go find him? And every time my mom put me in the car, and we would go, and we would knock on all his friends' doors. And they would be like, oh, try 13th Street. He's over there at the garage. And then we drive over there. We would go around looking for my dad. He would come back home for 2 weeks. My mom would get him all cleaned up and haircut and, whatever. And things would be back to normal for 2-3 weeks. And then my dad would be gone again. And, I mean, as a younger girl, I should say, as a young lady, I didn't realize the effects of that. I didn't. Like I said earlier, I left home at 16. I was in a relationship by 17. I was engaged, like at 17. And I was playing somebody's housewife, I learned a lot from that relationship, though, I will say that. But that was me looking for a father. Like, I accepted the things that I did from that grown man at 17 because I was needing what I didn't get from my dad. But I never saw it that way. I didn't see it that way until probably a year or two ago. After being a mom and after being able to be honest with myself about some of the decisions that I've made in life and holding myself accountable, that's when I was able to be like, okay, this stuff did come from a place. All of these decisions that I've made, all of these things that I've done, or whatever, wherever I'm at in life, is a direct result of things that, I've done. So,
wow.
I don't know.
Wow, that's a lot. That's
but
a
it
whole
is true.
lot.
But it
but
is
that's
true,
why I say
it is true. Yeah.
People go looking for love, in all the wrong places, and that's why I say, like, what love means to you
It
might
don't
mean
mean the
something
same
totally
thing.
right.
Yeah.
It might mean something totally different to me because maybe my insecurities are different than yours, or
That's true. And
maybe
that's why I asked the question
of
first.
what love
That's
means
like,
to you.
yeah, what is love? Like, a lot of people have different interpretations of love, like you just said, because of either how they've been brought up or what was going on when they were younger. And so they look at love in a completely different way. It's like, it's totally different than what other people, I personally, and I don't speak from this point a lot, but I was, let's say, 23, 24. I think it was 24 when I started working in the Alabama system as a child care worker. And I never, in school, you think about it like these kids, and I know we way off topic, but since we here, we gonna go there. I used to look at it in school as kids that were in, quote unquote, the children's home. That's what they call it here, where they did. As having everything, like they just had the best, and not even thinking about the reason they were there or what happened to, that they couldn't be with their families or anything. It never even crossed my mind being younger. It was just, oh man, they got everything, dude. Y'all got this, y'all got that. I started working at this place, and for some odd reason, I don't know, in where I worked at, and I work with the younger kids, but I work with a lot with the teenagers in a teenage home with these boys that were from 13 to 17. And one night in particular, I decided to I sit up for a long time that night and go through files they have files that they have prepared to pretty much tell you about the child, what they've been through, what their family life was like, um, their grades at school. They have all this stuff depicted in these files. And as a caseworker, I wanted to get to know these kids better because from me coming in, and mind you, I was one of the younger caseworkers that came in. I think at the time I was the youngest there. And so I got a lot of flack from that, me being young, and it felt like I didn't know what I was doing and whatever the case may be. I started reading up on these kids and everything that they were going through in their home life before they got here. And I was reading about kids where their parents were molested them, or something happened and their parents were in a robbery and they got taken away from the parents, or it was just a lot of crazy stuff that was going on. And mind you, I'm still young myself. I'm reading this stuff and I'm literally crying because I'm like, dog, that is messed up. They can't even be around their parents. Christmas time, some of them couldn't even go home. They had to stay there the whole time. There were those that would leave at Thanksgiving or Christmas, or their parents might come and get them for Easter or whatever the case may be. But there are those that are there or were there that could not leave the campus to go and be with family members. Either family members didn't want them, they didn't want to take care of them, they didn't want that responsibility, or legally they couldn't. There were some kids, and I'm just saying this to let y'all know how deep this goes, because we look at it a lot of times as adults, and they hurt people. I'm going back to my religious background, or Christian background, but I hear a lot of preachers say hurt people hurt people. And you wouldn't understand what exactly this person is going through until you reach back and look at what they've been through, or why they're doing what they're doing. Some people, and I ain't trying to stick up for nobody or nothing like that, but there are some people that's out here, just being honest, that don't know better. They just don't. This is what they've been around the whole time. And so even with our show, we want to look at all aspects of this thing. And I bring up that children's home or the children's home because from looking from the outside in, it looks like everything is glamorous. Oh my God, they got it going on. And this and that, and that and this. And then you sit on the campus and you watch as certain ones get to go home with their family and the ones that don't. And they have to stay there. And I left a while after that. I went to Minnesota, but I left here. And when I came back, maybe 5-6 years later, they had moved the campus from Selma. Now they're in Montgomery, I believe. Everybody that was here, I think most of the kids that was there when I was there are gone anyway. They're grown. But we have to think about that because I personally it didn't even dawn on me. It didn't even hit me that they were going through this type of stuff. It was the farthest thing from my mind. And I used to sit there and read these files after everyone was asleep, knocked out. It'd be 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm just up sitting reading files, going through files, because I wanted to understand there were some kids that were there. They had attitudes, and they were angry, and they were mad. Every time you see them, they got a frown on their face. They're never smiling. They always got something smart to say or sly. And I was like, what is the deal? And because of me reading these files, understanding these kids, I treated them differently.
Mhm.
I've never talked about this. I treated them so completely differently than others. And they will tell you, anybody, but I was like, yo, they don't know. It's not like that. And they would hate when I left the campus. They would come, they would know exactly when I'm leaving. Meet me at the car and say, hey, when you coming back? Because we would be on 3 days, be off 2 days, be back on 2 days, be off 3 days. So it was off and on when we was on the campus. There are plenty of times, me working there, and I loved working there, that I would be off campus. It's my free days. I'm chilling. I'm out of town, whatever the case may be. And I would get a phone call because either this young lady wouldn't talk to nobody else. She wanted to talk to me. She had a little situation, which one of them I ain't know nothing about because she was dealing with, becoming older, becoming a woman, and she didn't want to talk to nobody else about that but Mr. Marshall. I ain't talking to nobody. I'll wait till he get back. I ain't coming out the house. I won't come out my room. And they'll have their doors locked, and they can't get them out. And they would call me like, please, would you just please come over and talk to them? Well, I'm not even in town. I might have been in Atlanta. I could have been anywhere. And they'll be like, well, if we get them on the phone, will you talk to them? And there was plenty of them that I had to get on the phone and talk to them and talk them down and calm them down because and I felt like, to me, I understood where they were coming from because I was closer to their age. The older ones didn't understand. They couldn't comprehend why they were feeling this way and why they were acting out. Or some of them didn't even read their files, so they didn't know what was going on with the kids. But yeah, it's a lot.
Because they didn't take the time like you did.
No, they didn't take the time or initiative.
Understand them. So those kids felt safe with you, and
exactly.
I think
and there were times too, even you bringing that up, that I would take some guys or the boys, the older ones, and say, hey, come on, let's go ride. Because I had access to the company car. We jump in the car. We'll go get some ice cream. We'll sit down and talk. Hey, tell me what's going on with y'all. Or go to Block Park, which is down here in Alabama, in Selma. And we'll sit at Block Park for an hour and a half. And we'll just talk. And they loved it because nobody else did that with them. And so it's, even with like me personal in my family, I've seen it a lot too. Because like when you was telling your story, like I said, that sounds like my nephew. I have a nephew that's going through major attitude. He just switches up like nothing, like quick. And he always brings it back to his relationship with his dad. His dad isn't in his life at all. He can't be there because of stuff that he did in the past, which now he's trying to come back around, but it's a little too late. The dude don't want to even deal with him anymore. He don't want to have nothing to do with him. And for the longest, him hearing even that they were going through what they were going through, or seeing it as a kid, we feel like, oh, they don't know what's going on. They don't know what's happening. I could tell y'all some stories that will trip you out right now. You will be like, oh my God, that's crazy. Because he saw this stuff and he acted it out. And it tripped me out because I was like, where did he get this stuff from? And it would come back to that relationship that my sister was in, which was not a good relationship. I'm glad for her now. She's married to a good man. He take care of he do what he got to do. But yeah, they've been through some things. And they trying to help them now, and I talk to Mike about it all the time because, boy, them attitudes sometimes you can't just deal with them jokers. They be something else. But yeah, I try to be a little more, let's say, not lenient, but understanding.
Right.
Understanding. If only people could be more understanding, understand the situation and what's going on. And
less judgmental.
Huh?
And less judgmental.
Yeah.
Like it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard
absolutely.
for you to, see the good in somebody that you deem as like, a misfit. Instead of trying to understand them, because a lot of times that's what they need, somebody to get down to their level and try to, understand them. And that might not, like, that's not going to fix it right away, but them seeing that they have somebody to, confide in. Like initially when we were talking about this topic, I was like, okay, we got way off topic. But I think that it all ties into, but I think that it does all tie in because, hurt people, and a lot of this hurt comes from, childhood things and, turning into an adult and not knowing how to express yourself, not having, like I was saying, communication is very important to me. So, like, somebody who's maybe going through a lot or however, wasn't taught how to communicate or just decided to shut down altogether because they're so misunderstood and they have maybe even put that hurt in a place that they just don't want to deal with it or whatever. It's like hurt people, so they end up hurting people that love them. So
that's absolutely correct.
It all does kind of like, tie in.
And it's crazy, like, even us talking about this, because even with that being said just now, I was thinking about our jail system, prison system. How many people are in prison, in jail, because of that situation? I mean, because they went through that at a young age and just can't deal right now.
Mhm.
I mean, it's
insane. With the tools to deal, you have to be equipped with coping mechanisms.
And at the same time, be able to communicate about it, because there are some people that will shut you down when you start talking about it. They don't want to hear it. No, they ain't. That's not what's going on. It's just you.
But that's their defense mechanism because
and I'll be like,
they either feel like they don't feel safe to talk to you about it, or they feel like you don't know what you're talking about, or they feel like you can't possibly understand where they're coming from.
Yep.
Let me tell you, I had a lady, I drive, and I don't never really say like who I drive for, but I drive, and I had a passenger who got in, and we were having like really good conversation, and then she said to me, she was like, oh, you seem, really nice, and she was like, my conversations always start out good, and then they always seem to like go to the left. And I'm like, okay, all right. So we go on, we're talking. And I mean, we're not even really talking about anything. She's mainly talking. And I could tell that she started talking in circles. And because she was like, just people this and, people that. And I don't know, I just gotta. And I'm just like, I said, well, you're speaking as if I offended you. And she was like, I said, well, I mean, did I offend you? Because did I offend you? And she was just like, well, I'm not a confrontational person. And I said, oh, no. I'm not a confrontational person. Like, you can definitely feel safe telling me that I offended you. I was like, I would rather know than not know. I was like, and it's definitely not a mistake that I want to make with, anybody else. I never want to make nobody feel like that. So I'm like, please tell me what I did to offend you. She would not tell me, but basically she was like, I know that it's not your fault because I'm dealing with something, and the devil, he knows what I'm dealing with, and, he just used you to get to me, and, and I am like thinking to myself, I'm lost because
Wow.
we didn't talk about anything. I didn't talk about anything personal, or
Mhm.
nothing like that. So I just like I really I was hurt. I was hurt
Mhm.
because this woman is telling me that I hurt her, that I offended her, and
Mhm.
I don't know what I said, and I just wanted to make it right because I'm that type of person. You know what I mean? Like I just want to make it right. Like please let me make it right. It was to the point where when I got her to her destination, I turned my meter off. I'm missing money at this point. Turn my meter off. I turned around. I was like, listen, let's just talk. Like I turned the meter off. You're not being charged for this time. Like I would hate for you to depart from me and you have ill feelings or bad feelings or whatever. You
Mhm.
know, let me know what's going on. But basically, she's just been so hurt that
Yeah.
she just expects hurt from
Everybody.
everybody. So she's one of those
Yeah.
people that like jumps on the defensive about, and like I don't know this woman from a can of paint. I don't know what's going on in her life. And she was able to understand, she was the one that was like, I know that it's not you, because you don't know what's going on in my life. And it's just the devil trying to, but it's like, I can't even imagine living like that. I can't imagine living. You can't, you telling me that every time you have a conversation with people, it goes left and you
Mm.
don't know why. You're obviously the problem. And it's because you have been so hurt that you have this wall up that now you take it as if everybody's hurting you. And she's going to continue to be that way,
Yeah.
but who knows what she's been through.
Yeah.
I don't know what she's been
That's,
through, but it's like she takes offense when you even try to I'm like one of the sweetest people in the world. And I was like literally in tears because I was upset that like I couldn't help her. You're telling me that it's my fault, so I'm trying to fix it. And people like that, I'm pretty sure she's hurt a lot of people. Even though she's a hurt person and she carries all that hurt, I'm pretty sure she's
mhm.
hurt a lot of people. And I have never forgotten about her. Like I will
And
never forget about her.
not dealing with it is a problem.
Right.
I know me personally, well, I ain't say it on the air, but because of the situation I was going through, I had to go to counseling. There was
Mhm.
a reason that, they felt like, yo, you need to do this counseling and had to go to doctors and all this kind of stuff. And I'll be honest with you, I would recommend it to any and everyone because they tell you at the beginning, anything that's said here can't go nowhere.
Mhm.
I got so much stuff off my chest that I've been
Yep.
holding on to for the longest. And even in church or whatever the case may be, when people bring up counseling or you need to go talk to pastor, you need to sit down and have a meeting with pastor, and people get on edge about that type of thing. Even that part of it is good because you really can't go out and talk about you like that. There are some that that will, they're not supposed to. But I would recommend it to any and everyone. I got
I do
so
too.
much stuff off my chest and I felt so much
Mhm.
lighter that after a month of doing it, maybe a month and a half, I was looking forward to it every week. Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I gotta go back to counseling this
Me
week.
too.
I go on such
Because
a day.
it starts to get good to you, and before you
Yeah,
realize it, it's like, okay, I'm almost at the end of my little program, or
yeah,
whatever, my little
yep.
visits, and you know I'm I need some more of these visits. I recommend it too, and I tell people that all the time because definitely in the Black community,
We don't
um
do it. You right.
we don't it's not for one we beat our men down and make them believe that it's not okay to be emotional, it's not okay to
Mhm.
be weak, it's not okay to not
Mhm.
be okay. And so I mean, not that's one of the issues with our community is that we do that to our men. But as a community, as a whole, it's like we don't really talk about mental health because we're made to feel like, oh, we're strong
Okay.
and we have to this and we have to that. But I tell people all the time, I'm like, listen, let me tell you about going to go see a counselor.
Yeah.
One, they not going to tell your business to nobody because they probably don't know nobody that you know. And if
in the
you don't
case
want to
of the
go to
name.
one that they know, if you from a small town and you like, well, they might know somebody I know, then go to the next town over.
You know what?
And
You just said
and
that. It's funny you just said that because the very first session I went to, I walked in. I remember, I had to sit in the waiting room for a minute, and I was sitting there fiddling with my phone. I don't know if I was going through apps. I was doing something, and my name got called. I lift my head up, and the person that's calling me is a classmate of mine.
oh wow, mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
never knew she worked in this field. I didn't
mm-hmm.
know nothing about anything.
And that's
And
intimidating.
yeah, it was
That's
like,
intimidating.
oh no, I
So
gotta
that's
go
why I say
talk to
go. I say
her.
go to the next town over,
But
or something like that. But
I tell you
it's
this,
good.
it
Mhm.
it worked. It worked out because me and her were cool anyway. And she was the one that told me, yo, anything you said here can't go nowhere. This is between us.
Now, see,
This is
I
to
wouldn't
help
trust
you
that.
and
I
whatever,
mean,
whatever.
it's good that you did go ahead
But
with
it
it.
is,
But like,
but that I
if it
mean,
were me, I wouldn't.
well, legally they're not supposed to. Like I said before,
Legally, they're
unless,
not. But people lose their job every day.
yeah. I agree.
People
I
lose their
agree.
job every day
I agree.
for doing things
Saying
that they
stuff that ain't
legally
supposed to be.
should not do at work. Like my
You're
best friend
correct.
has gotten somebody fired from work,
Mhm.
from for talking about the fact that she was there and that kind of stuff. But I mean, I'm
Mhm.
just saying that to say for somebody to be like, oh well, I'm from a small town and I don't want anybody to know my business or whatever. Now, me in that situation, I would not feel comfortable, and I would have, you know, like I would have
You
had to
would
look for
probably took off.
somebody else
Well,
in the
they
next
will,
town over.
and they told me they will change me if I have any
Oh yeah,
issues. Because
yeah,
she
they will.
asked me that too when I went into. She was like, "Yeah, I know we classmates. You might not feel comfortable talking to me. If you want to, I can, get somebody else to do your set." I'm like,
Mhm.
yo, it's not that serious. I'm here because I'm
But
supposed to
for
be
some
here.
people,
So, but
yeah,
there
but
are
for some
some,
people, it
yeah,
is that serious. For some
yeah, it
people,
is.
like one of their things is like, oh, I don't want nobody knowing my business or whatever. But I always say that, like, it's good for me. Counseling helped a lot, and that
Mhm.
was another key piece in being able to communicate effectively. Like, I feel like that's where I got the tools to
Mhm.
be able to communicate effectively. But for me, I say that it's important because one, you're getting an unbiased opinion. This person
Mhm.
doesn't know you from a can of paint. That's why I say it's better to go somewhere where you don't know the person, because this person doesn't know you from a can of paint. They don't have no reason to lie to you. They're giving you an unbiased opinion. They're not on your mom's side, your dad's side, your boyfriend or your girlfriend or whoever. They don't have no reason to steer you wrong. One, and two, you know, you're getting somebody else's perspective that is outside of the situation or whatever. And
Yeah.
three, like you probably not even gonna see that person, so you can
Yeah.
really be honest with them. Like when I first started counseling, I saw a black woman. I was living in South Carolina, and it was a black
Mhm.
woman,
Mhm.
and I was determined I wasn't gonna speak to her. And so when I went in there, I sat there, and she's like, "Listen, I'm getting paid whether you talk to me or not. So, she's like, we can sit here and stare at each other. I could put some music on. You want some water? She's like, I'm just gonna sit here and I'm gonna be comfortable and I'm gonna get paid to do nothing at all. So
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
okay with that, I'm okay with that. And I was like, I'm okay with that. We sat there my first session. We didn't say nothing the whole rest of the time. And she said, well, Miss, my last name,
Mhm.
I'll see you next week. Should I schedule you? Should I, have the receptionist schedule you for next week? She's like,
Wow.
you get we have 5 sessions. I'm paid for the 5 sessions already. So she's like, you can either come and, let me do some work, or, you don't have to. So I was like,
Yeah.
I'll schedule, the appointment, whatever. So I scheduled the appointment, And I think when I was walking out of the office, I was like, I ain't coming back. I'm not coming back here or whatever. She called me the day before my appointment, and she was like, you've been on my mind. And she's like, I want to talk to you. So I think maybe I took the wrong approach with you. And, I want to see you face to face. So make sure you make your appointment tomorrow. So I was like, okay. I came to the appointment the next day. And she opened up and started talking about herself. Because now she realized that playing hardball with me wasn't going to get it. That she had to gain my trust. So she started talking about herself. So our second session, she talked about herself the whole time. We laughed, we just busting it up like good old girlfriends. And then she was like, "Well, we ran out of time, so maybe I'll finish my story next time." So, I wanted to know the story. Yeah, so I came back the next time, and honestly, I opened up to her, and it was like once I opened up to her, I couldn't stop. And she was able to give me a different view on a lot of things. And that's where I got a lot of my healing, and I worked through a lot of my issues. And I got a lot of closure on things that I never otherwise would have gotten closure on. And like I said, I feel like she really gave me the tools to be able to communicate effectively and to be able to sit and listen to what somebody has to say, even if it hurts me to hear that I've hurt them or whatever, even if it's not my truth, even if it wasn't my intent, I'm able to sit there and listen to what that person has to say and validate their feelings, because it's their feelings, not mine, whether I believe them or not. This is how they're saying they feel. So she taught me to, you have to validate that person's feelings and then move forward from there, And so that's where, I learned a lot of my tools. And I always say, if people go to counseling, even people in relationships, we talk about, love doesn't hurt. Love should not hurt. But I feel like when I said earlier, you have a healthy amount of hurt where it's just enough hurt to almost break the relationship, but you do the work by using those tools that you get from counseling to be able to pull each other through, to get through, all of that. So I always say, I think every relationship needs counseling. Before marriage, during marriage, I feel like it should be an ongoing thing. Yeah.
I agree with you. I have to agree with you. That being said, we have come to the end of another show. I agree 110% with you. We're going to have to do this again because, man, we hit a lot of stuff, but we touched on a bunch that needed to be talked about. Make sure, if you're listening, wherever you're listening to us, to go ahead, go to Facebook, like us on our Facebook page, The Breakdown. We have a like page. There is also a group called The Breakdown, and you can join us there. Thank you to Flo. Thank you to Lala. Great show. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you join us next time. And till next time, all I got to say is keep your head up. Don't look down. And by all means, please don't break down. We'll talk to you next time.
Watch the breakdown.